Okay, what can we do? Let's get a good view. Let's see. And we're live, the man says. Oh, and we're live. Where should we put the camera today? An in pile and an out pile. Okay. Batch of prints back from Kubota-san this morning. Yesterday, actually. Not this morning, yesterday. It's our Fly to Fantasy print. It's the latest batch from printer Kubota-san. And these are better than the last batch. We've cranked it up. I know. The problem with setting the same design to the same printer again and again is that they sort of get used to it. They're not as careful in subsequent printings as they are on the first time. The first time they do one, they've got my sample and how do they match it and they carefully go for it. Then it's just human nature. After 2 or 3 batches of the same one, they're sort of, I know what to do here, I'm okay. And maybe they don't even look at the sample anymore. And it's not that the previous batch was bad. Of course, we prepared them and sent them out, but they had just started to deviate bit by bit by bit. So this time I sent him back again, the original sample that we had used during the first batch. And these ones have come back now much closer to the sample. So no matter how good these are, how good these people are, how much of a pro they are, you've really still got to keep their feet to the fire. Even myself, I'm not like exempting me from these things. You just slip. You can't hold it steady. Everybody slips bit by bit by bit. Anyway, what we're doing now, those of you who know, you know about this. Those of you who don't know, what we're doing is, I've got a batch of finished prints here this morning, and there's a blank space on the margin, and what I have to do is I have to emboss some names in, the carver's name and the printer's name. Let me do one first and then try and show you. I'm not sure if this is going to show without a bright light. Let's see. There's now an embossment in the margin here. If I can try and find an angle where it shows. It's right here by my finger. It says Horiburu Suri Kubota Kenichi. It's the carver's name, myself, and the printer's name, Kubota Kenichi desu. Now, this is not the only work I have this morning. I'm going to be doing this first. It won't take the whole stream, and then I'll switch to my carving tools. I guess I should update too. Those of you who were with us yesterday, when I read the comments on yesterday's stream afterwards, in the evening last night, I had some time. I read through the chat from yesterday's thing, and somebody said near the end of it, they said, "This was really cool today. I really love these streams, these problem-solving streams." Because yesterday, of course, there was a whole bunch of problems with the printing I was doing, and the comment that I really enjoy these problem-solving streams. That's a nice comment, but unfortunately, a problem-solving stream only makes sense if at the end of it, you've solved the problem, which we didn't do on the stream yesterday. So we did, after it was over, find out, and the whole thing was due to my personal stupidity. It was due to, does it make any sense talking about this? Were you guys here yesterday? I don't know what's happening here. So. You know, yesterday's stream was we were printing, and I'm using the same polymer plate that I'm using today. This is an offset polymer plate. And today I'm embossing with this one, but yesterday we were printing with one of these. It's the captions for one of this year's subscription prints, the Legendary Loot series. I had the same polymer plate, the same type of polymer plate, but rolling ink on it and printing with it. And we've done this before. This was the 5th month in our series, and we're okay at it. We've got this worked out how to do this. But yesterday's was not working. It just wouldn't make a good impression, sort of no matter what I tried. I was frustratedly trying different things, all of which seemed to make sense. But at the end of the day, it just didn't work on it. And the story behind it is that what we've been doing is the polymer plates we've been ordering, they come in different, I don't even know what the word is, sizes, types, or styles. This one is the text is really, really quite shallow. It's only about maybe, 0.3 or 0.4 millimeters high. And this is the kind we've been using for the past few years to do this embossing. And we used the plate of this type for the first bunch of captions on the Legendary Loot series. We had the first 4 captions from Jed, so we ordered a polymer plate for them. And this new one we did yesterday was the 5th one, so it was the 2nd plate we've done. And I had looked at this during the first printing of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I thought, this is really quite shallow. And I asked Cameron, next time you order polymer plates, can you maybe see if the guy can do it with a bit more depth? You know, they've probably got different styles. And he said, yeah, that you can order it like a type number, Nanaban, Hachiban, Kyuban, Toka. You just order different styles, and the things can have more and more depth. So I said, okay, have him dial it up and order more depth for this one. And the plate I was using yesterday was one of these. It was one of those that is actually more, the lettering stands actually higher. It's quite high. It's well over 1 millimeter high. And we had tried to use this. Ishikawa-san, our printer, had tried to use this a couple of weeks ago when doing that lettering and had failed. And that's why it was on my desk yesterday, because she hadn't managed to get a good impression from it. And she had just thought maybe it's due to her inexperience or something, whatever. But because she had failed on it, we had thought maybe these new polymer plates are not so good. So Cameron ordered another copy of the same one at the same height that we'd been using previously, the same low height. And yesterday rolls along, and what I did was, what I had on the desk there, I had the one that she had failed at. No, I should have known this because I had talked to her about this. So she'd already failed at using this plate to make good impressions. And yesterday, there I was. I was sitting there failing to make good impressions. But all the time, in the drawer right beside me was another copy of the same polymer plate made with the gentle, soft ones, which we have been using for years with no problem. So, of course, what I should have done yesterday, as soon as the problems came up, I should have realized, okay, this is the new polymer plate of the high type. We've learned that these don't work. Just toss it out. But I didn't remember that. So I sat there banging around trying to get it to work, and it wouldn't work at all. So after the stream was over, we were sitting doing our post-mortem, and the light went on, and I remembered, oh, wait a minute, this is the plate that she failed at. And I pulled out the good plate out of the drawer, and then bang, 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 straight through, no problem. I'm sorry that we couldn't have solved the problem on stream, but we've learned then for our own usage that these polymer plates, the shallow kind, maybe 0.3 millimeters high, are really useful, and the higher kind, it gets about 1 millimeter high type, are frustratingly difficult for us to use. There may be a way around it, but we haven't discovered that. So. Anyway, long story short, that's what the problem was yesterday. I had the defective kind of plate. I was too stupid to remember that, even though one of our printers had reported to me the same thing. Prints are nice. This is one of my favorites too. this guy is so consistent, you know. You look at these prints. I mean, the guy's a machine. Just this total, absolute consistency. I mean, all of our printers are doing this. This is what we're supposed to do. But you know, the gradations from one to the other come up exactly the same level. Look at this. You got the mountain gradation just down to exactly the same level. The gradation on top of that, the same level. The density is the same. This is so cool working with people that have these skills, you know. Look at this. Just, he's so good at this, you know. Just, it's the same level all the way across. This is so difficult. So difficult. Anybody can make one gradation. It's easy. You put some pigment on the brush, a bit of water at one end, a bit of paste at the other end, chuck, 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 and it makes a nice gradation. It's so easy. What's impossible is to get them all the same. You can't see where you are. It's hidden in the brush. You don't know how much you're putting on. It's all by touch and feel. You pull each paper up and you can see, it might be starting to move down a tiny, tiny bit. So your next one, you adjust it back just a hair. You have to look at each sheet as it comes off. Which way am I going? It's like driving a car. Suppose you had to keep a car right down the middle of this stripe on the road. You got to keep it on. It starts to wander one way, you turn it a little bit. It starts to wander, turn it. And if you're really good at it, you can just stay right on that line and just no visible turning. The beginner, he's going to turn right, whoops, turn back, whoops, too far, turn back, ka, ka, ka. So for a beginner, the gradations are all over the map. Too high, too low, too high, too low. But for a pro, straight down the middle there. This is Kubota Kenichi. He's one of the most experienced men left. He's a bit older than me. I'm 66. He must be 71 or 72, somewhere around there now. He's retired from doing it professionally for companies, but he's now working pretty much full-time for us because he just wants to keep going. He's getting a kick out of these designs too, you know. It's nothing like he'd ever experienced before, and he's just like, what is this stuff, you know? He's not perfect. He's not God, you know. When I see this, when he sent the stack back to me, there's 3 or 4, which he himself, he's chopped the corner off. Chop. These are defective, not to be sold. We don't pay him for these, and he expects us, because of that, we can't sell them. But I was looking at a couple of these, you know, like, what's wrong with this thing? Why did he mark it as defective? And one I get, maybe, I don't know if you can see it. When we use our brushes, we've got brushes, you know, where's the brush? We brush our brush over the pigment, and it's made of hair, and every now and then, a hair splits, and a little bit of hair pops out and drops on the block. And when we're putting the paper on, if we notice the hair's there, of course we could flick it out of the way. But if we don't notice, there's a piece of hair on the wood. We press the print. Ga, 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 ga. When we pick it off, there's the place where there was a broken piece of hair. It's embossed in. And this print has one just below her chin. And again, I don't know if this thing will focus that close. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. There's a line just below her chin on that background tower. If I can get the light just right. No, it's not going to show. It's too small. Does it show there? A line coming down from her chin. It doesn't show there. It's vivid right here because the shadow of what I'm saying shows it. And it's unfixable. It's unfixable because the full power of his Baron rubbed on the back. And so there's that little line where there's 2 things. One, there's the embossment from the hair. And second is there's no pigment there because the pigment didn't get to the paper because the hair was on the way. And everything else is perfect and beautiful. Can't be helped. Toyota has defects. We have defects. And don't ask me, please. Everybody's going to ask us, can you have it, you know, for a discount or whatever. And no, we don't sell the defects. I'm sorry. We don't give them away. We don't sell them. So please don't ask. Okay, I think I'm starting to talk too much. I've got to get this work done. There's lots waiting on the desk here this morning. What's somebody talking about? I see the Patreon chibi print in the background. Are we carving corrections later? Patreon chibi print. Oh, here. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Is this top secret? I don't think so. We are indeed carving corrections. We've got a couple of things here. Oh, let me change that. What I'll do then, if you guys want to play that game. Let me replace that with this. You can look at it for a while. We've got some news about those prints. Yes, yes, yes. I didn't read what else was going on. Yeah, the thing about those polymer plates, why the Thai one should be more difficult. We struggled with it. I had no idea. Well, no idea. Just a minute here. The ink rolling on seems to go the same. What we did was, because it's a little thin strip of lettering, we built supports on each side, so that when I was putting the roller on, it wasn't just balancing on the top of this mountain. So it seemed the same. And then when I was rubbing as well, the Baron had supports both sides. So there really shouldn't have been any difference. All I can guess is that the type of plastic, it's a different type of plastic. So it's not just the height that's different. It's the composite or something is different. And it was a different color. This is a very pale yellow-orange, and that one was a bright yellow-orange. So maybe it's not just the height that's different in order to make it, have strong support and not squishy or something. They adjust the composition of the plastic. I don't know at all. All I know is that she couldn't make it work and I couldn't make it work, and the other one does work, so let's just cut our losses and go for it. Our intention is just to make some clean embossing here, not experiment too much. There's still a leftover bit of cigarette smell on this. Kubota-san's a heavy smoker, you know. And every time almost we have to remind him about this. You know. Suga-san was with me when we opened this package yesterday. You know. We cut the string and opened the paper around it, and pwah, there's this, oh my God, smoke smells. We've cajoled him, we've threatened him, we've whatever. You know. So they have to go through 2 or 3 stages of being aired out. We did it yesterday a bit. We were sitting there, you know, flip. This helps too, each one by one getting it. And our Ome staff will do it again. Before they can pack them, they shake each one out a bit to try and get the smell out of it. It's his age group, whatever. They just grew up smoking and sitting in clouds of smoke all the time. And he just says, no, I can't quit now, blah, 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 but whatever. It's not so bad now. But when we open the package, God, it's terrible. There's actually other Ukiyo-e Heroes news today. I know I didn't get one ready to show you. I should perhaps do that. This is a print that was published, you know, a couple of years ago, a few years ago. We're doing reprinting. But in the recent Kickstarter campaign, we put 3 or 4 brand new designs into the Ukiyo-e Heroes series. And another one of them, the one that Jed called Meteoric Power, finished its first step of the journey yesterday and came to life. Yesterday, Suga-san finished the first batch of 60 prints. She did this embossing herself with her own name yesterday, and the prints went into the drying stack last night. So this morning, when I go upstairs up there, I can get into the drying stack, and I will find 60 copies of a brand new Ukiyo-e Heroes print coming to life again. And they look really good. She was all over me. She's like, oh, they're no good. What am I going to do? I'm a failure. What am I going to do? These are no good. And the rest of us are just sitting here just laughing at her. Because they're fabulous. They're absolutely fabulous. And Chon-san was here, the young guy who carved it for us. And the 3 of us sat down together for a celebration picture. We sat there. Me, the publisher, Suga-san, the printer, and Chon-san, the carver. We sort of just sat there looking like funny geeks while a few people took our pictures. And there, a new print coming to life, the 3 of us. We don't have room for Jed in the picture. He's over there in America, but it's the 4 of us. Jed's the designer, of course. I'm coordinating publishing at this end, and the young carver and young printer. It's the famous Ukiyo-e Quartet, which made all that beautiful work in the old days. And here we are, it's still up and running, the Ukiyo-e Quartet. So we got a picture yesterday of 3 of us, a few pictures, and the print looks so good. It's one of the best ones we've done so far. And she just complains, oh, it's no good, what have I done? She's looking at whatever defects there are, you know. No matter how good any given print is, somewhere, if you look close enough, you can find something wrong, whatever, something is not perfect. Whatever, you know, just as an example, there's something, you know, because it's paper, it's natural. I'm having trouble finding something for an example, but whatever, you get my point. You can always find something that's not quite done as well as you thought it should be done. So. And she's focusing on that stuff. So, and I have mixed feelings. I'm happy. The fact that she's so critical of herself is great. It means they're going to get better and better and better and better. But it's also disturbing. All she ever says is, "It's not good. It's not good. It's not good." We just sort of laugh at her now. Photoshop Jed in, yeah. So. I asked about the book, that book of 10 that we made. The first 10, of course, are gone. Absolutely. Our idea, I mentioned this before, I know, when we have reached 20 prints, I think we now have 17. What do we have? We had the first 10 there. Then the Kickstarter campaign, we had 6 more in the Kickstarter, 16. And then we've got one more under construction upstairs, the Times of Burn Bright, 17. So when the next 3 after that are done, and we've reached 20 Ukiyo-e Heroes prints, then it's my plan to do another couple of those volumes again. We'll probably do 10 more of volume 1, and maybe 10 or 15 so of volume 2. So there will be more of those volumes coming in the future, but at the moment it's totally impossible. We can't just sit here and bang, make one, something like that. So yes, there are more coming, but if that's a guesstimate, each time we hit 10 more prints in this series, we'll do another volume. And at that time, we'll do another copy of whatever volumes came before. Got a little hole nose there. If you remind me, when Cameron gets here today, remind me about that new print, the one that Suga-san finished yesterday, and I'll run quickly upstairs and bring a copy and show you. I'll forget, but if you remind me when he gets here. Because it is to die for. It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I want one. We had a funny experience with that. I should perhaps talk about it once we get the print here. One of the characters in the thing, the larger character in the background, has white hair. And how do you do white hair in an ukiyo-e print? You know, white, of course, we don't print white. White is a leftover paper. But if you just leave it as a white blank spot where his head is, it just looks funny and silly. So Jed drew it as, you know, whatever, gray hair against the black clothing, and it came out looking white, silver hair. Right? Here, there's a batch of these. These are printed on the wider paper that will eventually become books, but almost certainly these are going to be cut and sent out individually. We can't keep up with the individual print sales at the moment, so although we are preparing some prints with the idea of being bound into a book, that's too far down the road, and we can't afford to set these aside now because people are still waiting for these prints. So. Anyway, they're here for now, but almost certainly they'll be chopped and sent as smaller prints. And the thing about the hair, we wanted white hair. Jed wants white hair in this character, so basically he sent the image through with a very, very, very light gray, which gives a silver impression. Now the problem for the printer is that in the early stages of making a print, suppose this was going on, suppose we're printing her skin color or something in the early stage of the print, there's no dark stuff around it yet. So you've got white paper, and you maybe print that skin tone. And your eyes trick you. Because the white paper is there, the skin tone seems to look dark to a certain extent. But actually, once you've put darker stuff around later on, that skin tone will look almost white. So it's really difficult at the early stages of the construction of a print to tell how deep to make the colors, because the surrounding colors are not in place yet. It's really, really difficult. And Suga-san, when she was doing the test printing on that one she just finished, she'd print that hair. And she printed it really, really, really quite too dark, because it looked sensible at the early stage of the print. When we got to the end, it just didn't work. So I was telling her, no, you can make it lighter. Just make it lighter. Make it lighter. And in her final proof version, you know, I was sitting next to her, you know, I said, no, lighter. She said, no, it's wrong. I said, dial it down, lighter, trust me. She says, no, it'll look terrible. And I'm like yelling at her. No, we're yelling, laughing, yelling at each other. Dial it down, that's too strong. And she's like, okay, you're the boss. You're going to spoil it, but I'll just do what you tell me to. We dial it down. We get to the end of the print, and it is perfect. I mean, this is what 40 years of experience is worth. You can sometimes see stuff that's coming up that the less experienced person can't see. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. And we look at it sitting at the end of it yesterday, the three of us, you know. And I say, on that hair, what do you think about the hair, you know? And she looks at me like, And it's okay. It's experience. She's building her own experience now. And next time she will know. It's so much fun to be part of a project like this that is building these people's experience, you know. And it boosts my ego, you know. Look how good I am. Look at my experience. Look how good this print is because of the comment I made, you know. So it just goes around and around. Okay, hang in here. We just have about 20 more. So then I finish this and I'll get up to some carving. Comments. What's happening here? The back of these tells lots of stories too, you know, to us. I know the dose of the sizing on this one came out very, very nicely. Recently, you know, during the past couple of years, we've been struggling with paper quality and sizing and stuff like that. And we've gone back to using a brush for a while. I'm doing all the sizing myself for a while because we were getting a bit lost at sea. And this one is nice. You can, there's a, what do you call it? No matter if it's a yellow or a brown or a red or a blue, whatever, when you see it from the back like this, there's an evenness in tone and texture on the thing. When you see it from the front, some colors are vividly brighter, vividly darker, quite different. Now look at this, it's a dark brown, it's a light blue. But we actually print it the same way. The same kind of mix goes into the paper. We're printing with pigment, powder pigment, plus paste, plus water, and a mix. And to make a good impression, the volume of mix has to be consistent to get pressed into the paper. But some of these are lighter and some are darker in tone. So what do? It's a question of how much actual powder pigment is inside the mix. When you look at it from the back, look at this. These all have the same tone, the same volume. They're different colors. That one's red, this is brown, this is blue. But they have the same depth and feeling. I'm struggling to find words to say what I mean here. But from the back, you can see what the printer has done. There's been the same quantity of stuff on the block that has had the same moisture, texture, and it's gone into the paper in the same way. That's the printer's challenge, to find that particular combination that matches the particular paper type and the sizing and the moisture in the air and the moisture in the paper. And if he controls these things well, then all of these impressions across the print have gone into the paper in the same way, in the same level of richness, and filled the in between the fibers the same way. From the back, you can see that, but from the front, it looks totally different. Super light, super bright, super dark, all the different light levels that are here. It's hugely, hugely difficult for the printer to do this. You can't teach someone to do it. You can't explain it in words. You can't put a formula, X grams of this and pressure of this. But that's the result on the front. And it comes from this absolute consistency controlling your materials and products. And it's visible in the back. Go back to that point again, just to reinforce one more thing, this is what was unknown to me totally when I was a beginner. I was thinking that something that was going to be light in the finished print would need not so much on the block, and it would need a little light pressure, and something that was going to be dark in the finished print needed lots of stuff on the block and bang, 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 bang. And that's absolutely, totally wrong. There's no pressure difference. Everything gets full pressure to put the pigment in, mix into the paper. Everything gets a good rich texture on the block to go deep into the paper. It's a fundamental thing, Lighter color, darker color. From the back, it's all exactly the same. I even tried with gradations. I was so stupid. Not stupid, just I didn't know. When I was printing a gradation, I'd use heavy pressure at the top where it's deep color, and I'd try and reduce the pressure down to the bottom where there's no color. And that's not how it's done. If I was printing this blue gradation here, it goes on the block and the same power, even down here where there's nothing. Print, 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 bang, 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 bang. The Baron never knows you're printing a gradation. Never. The brush knows, because the brush has pigment at one end and nothing at the other end. But the Baron doesn't understand gradations. It doesn't know and doesn't care. Someone's asking how many prints are usually in a batch. It's wildly variant. I know. In the old days, when we hear or read about the old guys, they talked about a batch as always being 200. It's some kind of magic number of 200. I'm not sure I think that's true, because they didn't use decimal system back then, but whatever. It depends on the job, everything, on what the publisher needs. Does he need a small batch? Does he need a large batch? Kubota had himself. We've chatted with him about this. When he was sort of in his prime working for a major company, they would do, you'd never do less than 100. It would be 100, maybe 200, sometimes 500, depending on what was going on. There's many, many factors involved. Now he wants us to ask him to do 60, 70, 80. And this is simply because stamina, physical stamina. He's getting a bit older and keeping his mental focus on the thing. he wants to be, whatever he can do in a couple of hours for any given color. He's probably thinking, if it's 60 or 70 copies, he can do that gradation before lunch or whatever, then take a lunch break and come back. But that's his age showing and his stamina's dropping. The reason we don't want to do a few impressions, the reason we want the more in a batch is because the stability is there. Once you're up and running, it's easy to make another one, all the same. But if you're only doing, say, 20, you spend all your time mixing, getting ready, doing a few test prints, then 20, it's over. And then you're back to mixing, testing. You spend most of your time fooling around instead of most of your time being involved in productive work. And the larger the edition is, the more prints that are in a batch, the more efficient you are in the overall usage of your time. Because it's a minimum of fooling around and a maximum of just straight printing. But other factors, things like mold factor, and a print like this is what, I forget, 17 or 18 or 19 impressions. Maybe 20, I'm not sure, I don't remember. Just say it's 20. If we want 50 copies of 20 impressions, you can do the multiplication. It's 1,000 impressions. If you want 100 copies of 20 impressions, it's 2,000 impressions. And the batch has to be kept moist from start to finish. And if it's summertime, there's a real risk that the paper can become moldy. So in summer, it's common to reduce the impressions, to reduce the number of prints in a batch. Instead of doing 2,000, you do it 1,000 and 1,000. So the paper is moistened, dried, and finished, then start again and do your second batch. It's a bit more troublesome for the printer, but the paper is only moist for 1 week instead of 2 weeks, or whatever the number is for that particular job. So mold control becomes a factor. So, financial requirements, how many you expect to sell, printer's use of time, mold considerations. There's lots of things involved when you think about how many to do in a batch. And I'm speaking, of course, in an environment where there's no limited editions. You're not going to sell only 100 and then destroy the blocks. We're talking about open edition work. How many to do each time, Block wear is another factor. When you're doing the key block here, let me finish this one. The key block gets moist. Well, they all get moist, of course. And the wear and tear on any block happens mostly when the block is moist and soft. So you're rubbing your key block here, wherever it is, let's get one. You're rubbing your key block here. Print number 1 is okay, print number 2 is okay, the block is wet. Print number 3, bit by bit by bit, it gets wetter and wetter and softer and softer and softer. And it's the action of the brush on soft wood that does most of the wear and tear. So for me as a publisher, I want my printers not to be making too many copies at one time. If we called for 500 copies of this to be done all at once, that block is going to show an insane amount of wear at the end of it. But if we do 200 copies, let it dry, another 200, let it dry, another 200, let it dry, then these blocks will last much longer. And that's what we do with our Ukiyo-e Heroes prints. All of these prints, we want these blocks to be lasting as long as possible. So we don't do super large editions. As I said, Kubota wants 60, 70, 80. Sugi-san doesn't have the stamina yet. She's doing 60 each. Yamamoto-kun, he's young, he could go for more. But we call it 60, 70, 80 copies at a time to avoid wear and tear on the key block. So I'm sorry, long answer to a short question, but there's no single answer. How many prints in a batch? It depends on a whole bunch of things. There's a few left here, another dozen or so, I think. I keep putting this, for normal printing, my Baron pad is here. It's got the oil on. I put the Baron on top of the pad, do your pigments, print it, put the Baron on top of the pad. For 40 years, that's been my training. Today, the pad is different. This is water. It's water to moisten this. So my muscle memory desperately wants to drop this on that pad, but this is of course not my printing bench. If I was at my printing bench, I'd put this moisture pad somewhere else. The bearing would go here, you know. This is not my printing bench. I don't really have a printing bench anymore. Out in Ome, my own bench, my carving bench and printing bench, they're just dust covered. Literally covered in dust. Haven't used them now for, it's over 4 years, I guess. No idea if I'll ever be back there working, I don't know. Don't look back. Two or three left here. What have we got? 1, 2, 3. He's marked this one is spoiled. What was that from? Oh, paper defect. This is frustrating for the printer, you know. It turns out there was a defect in the paper that really wasn't visible until the, you know, you get finally printing at it. He'd done almost all the whole entire print, and bang, there's a clump of fiber or something in the sky, and it gives a blot. Really frustrating. It's not his fault at all. We'll probably put this in the pay group. We know we pay him for the good ones, don't pay for the bad ones. But it's frustrating when the printer does what he's supposed to do and it turns out to be an unusable print through no fault of his own, you know. Can't be helped sometimes, but there it is. There's a sky dot. Can't be fixed. There's nothing there. We could try and fix it, you know. You could sort of paint over it, but we don't play that game. We don't do that. I'll use my knife sometimes to dig out dots or something in the margin. You've seen me do that before. But we don't start reprinting and painting and stuff. You know. Oh, I see also, actually, no, he's got a bit of misregistration here. And so this is a defect. Okay, that's that for this. Let's move on to the next part of my job today. What time is it? Cameron should be here in a few minutes now. Kubota-san will now get paid for these. He's really happy. We're paying. I don't want to throw the numbers here because I've put my own finances on the net any number of times, but I've learned that the people around us who we are paying or who we are buying stuff from, they really do not want some of this stuff open in public. So I won't tell you how much we're paying him for this, but it's probably double what another publisher would pay, because our philosophy is clear. You know, the money comes through, spread it out to the people who are actually doing the job and doing the work. We're fine. We're making enough profit. We're okay. But he's getting paid really well for this, so he's so happy to see these jobs come through. You know. And for me, you know, I just send out the blocks and paper, wait a couple of weeks, and back come these wonderful objects. There's a defect there. Look at this. There's a tiny dot in the margin. So there must be a bit of a high point on one of those blocks. We talked about this before, and when I was doing my carving yesterday, we talked about this. I want to keep the base of the wood smooth, because if you have a rough spot on the block, it picks up pigment from the brush. And we see this here. There's these two dots that are the same in the margin. And this is because there's a rough spot on the block at the back that's picking up pigment. Let me try and find it. Just hang on a second. Let me try and find this spot. It's so small. There's a dot there, an equivalent dot here. So there's a rough spot somewhere in the, probably in the key block, this black line. And that should be scooped out. My guess is this was near the end of his print run. Pigment was starting to build up a little bit. We've talked about this before. The more prints there are in any given run, the more likelihood there is of these dots starting to come up. So before I send these off to Jed, I'd better go through. I don't see any more. No. Maybe he scooped it off himself. Okay, Dave, get to work, get to work. Okay. Cameron countdown is at 10 minutes. Is it okay? Wave reprints. The next batch of waves will be here maybe this afternoon, maybe tomorrow. But no, they're spoken for. The waiting list is hundreds of people long. Cameron will be, over the next few days after he receives the prints, Cameron will be notifying people on the list in batches. Okay, now let's go Patreon. Yeah, that's what this is. So, I've got 2 more jobs I have to do here today. Where's this stuff going to go? Patreon prints. I know you probably haven't really met her yet. Young, I know, Rei-chan, the young girl. You remember the print we are trying to publish? The print of what's the Vocaloid character's name from Yamaha? I know. I can't remember the name. There's a piece of software that makes humans singing sounds, and they made a visual character to go with it. I can't remember the name. We did it. We're trying to publish a parody print of the image. Thank you, Hatsune Miku. I think you spelled it wrong, but that's enough to jog my memory. Hatsune Miku, not Miko. Miku. We've been trying to publish that, and the couple, the young Hong Kong couple that designed it and carved the blocks for us, young Chon-san and young Rei-chan, like their girl. They're working for us off and on now. They're actually not legal residents of Japan yet, so we can't really talk about this too much. But anyway, they're doing some work for us. And she's here working as a printer, and he's here working as a carver. He carved the Meteoric Power print that I'm going to show you in a few minutes after Jed gets here. Anyway, the Patreon print, we asked her, she's been here the last few days, so we asked her to do some test printing for me. This is the print. Let me pop up the John Amos's dummy. This is this print, eh? This is the design from John Amos, and he just gave us some dummy colors just to fit in what he thought might be a color breakdown, but not the actual colors that would be used in the print. He was just trying to show us, it's difficult to describe in words. He was trying to show us how the color blocks might possibly be carved, but he wasn't trying to tell us, please use this blue and use this purple and use this whatever. So this was a dummy image. So once that was done and the key block was carved, this was a couple of days ago, I guess. Here we are. Here's the key block. Here's an impression just from the key block, and I sent it to HM, and I didn't show her John's dummy image. I just gave her the 5 color blocks and said, here we are, we've got a blah, 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 blah. And she turned in first, here we are, camera on. She turned in this first, as her first attempt. It's to attempt to verify the blocks, see how they are, and make a first random pass at what might be a good set of colors. And she gave me these 2. Cameron-san, good. Thank you. Come in and join us here. I just finished doing the, the last batch of prints from Kubota-san.
Oh, wonderful.
The fantasies, eh? They are really, really nice.
Oh,
I should be careful what I say, because the batch before this had sort of slipped quite a bit. Slipped not in quality, but slipped in varying from the color sample. So I gave him the color sample from Kanai-san, who had been the first one to do this. And he's like, but anyway, he did it. And it's much more now, much closer to the original color sample.
Very beautiful.
They are really, really beautiful. Wow. We quickly sent, I think 10 copies went to Jed quickly yesterday. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And these are now the rest going in.
Oh, great.
So I just finished that now. Then there's 2 jobs waiting for me today. I've got to chat a little bit about the Patreon thing here.
Yeah.
And HM wants me to fix the block. She's asked for a small repair.
Oh.
So I don't know if I got time to do that or not, whatever. So. Yeah, and somebody's reminding me, remember the print, you were going to mention the camera. Okay, you take the computer.
Okay.
You keep them busy for 1 or 2 minutes, and I'm going to go upstairs, and what I want to get is the print that Suga-san finished yesterday.
Sorry. Okay.
The Meteoric Power.
Oh,
was finished, and I want to show. So
great.
Let me go. It's in the drawing boards.
Busy.
So
Distract you. Woo. Okay.
if I can get out of here, God, it's getting harder and harder to get in and out of this.
Well, it is kind of tucked away back there.
It's easier, and they're starting to stack bags and things here. My God, they got no respect for the boss.
Sorry.
Okay, back a minute, if I can find one. Hey.
Are some test prints of the new Patreon prints? Yes, those are in the background.
So.
We talked about that.
In fact, there we go. Actually, we can put them all up here and show them. She did it first sort of too light, and then she did it with a bit more saturated color. Are these coming out? And I think we're settling on something like that one that's at the left is in there. Back in a minute.
Okay. Cool. Oh, are you asking, is this ever going to be a print? The green hair, blue clothes woman? I don't know if I'm allowed to break copyright. The one that they brought in. We're hoping so. It's been, they've done some test printing, and I think they decided they needed to do a little bit of repair on the blocks, if I remember right. I'm sure we'll find out how wrong I am in a few minutes. But I think that's what it was, and there have just been so many other jobs for our printers that it's been hard to prioritize a new print when they've already got such a backlog of prints that are already in the catalog that they're trying to catch up on. Each one is totally different. That's really cool. She did a really nice job with all the different colors. Huh. They missed the heart-shaped reflection. I'm sorry. Looks like you cut that out. I didn't notice that. Oh yeah, those wood chip shadows. Those did come out really nice. That's really cool. I thought he said 1 minute or 2. I don't know how to handle this. That's good. All right, no shading on the hands.
I can't find them.
Uh-oh.
I wonder if she got them ready for me here. I can't find them up there. Was that what this is? They're here.
Oh, they were here the whole time.
Nanda. She said she was
Maybe
going to
shadow
leave.
puppet.
She was finishing drying them yesterday. So I guess they're actually dried. She left them for me. Sorry, I didn't know. I'm up there. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they?
We've lost all those prints.
So,
you gotta
sorry
start
about
over,
that.
Suga-san.
What an idiot I am. Ay, so-
They're pointing out some of the differences between the sample image and the final one that you've done.
The final one. What do
Or
you mean?
not final, but I mean the carved ones. Like
Yeah.
there used to be a heart-shaped reflection over here in the flask on the sample image, reflecting the color of this wall.
There was?
This.
No, it's okay. Don't muck with it. No.
This.
So there was. Look at that. I don't know. Did I miss that? Did I forget that? I don't know.
I don't know. And then they also were pointing out, but I think this was a choice that you did, was no shadow on the hands or the arms.
Yeah. I know.
I remembered you making that.
So
that
I know. I just felt it was going to look dirty rather than like a shadow. But we are. I know this is a question of compromise. The skin is actually too bare here. In an ideal world, there would be like a nice skin tone on this print.
Yeah.
We had to balance, given our, we had 6 faces.
Right.
So the what's the word I'm looking for? The whatever. We had 3 pieces of wood, 6 faces. I know we're always, with Jed and I too, the same thing. He wants he clicks and clicks in Photoshop to put up more colors.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, Jed, we can't just infinitely go wide here.
Yeah.
There's a question of how much it costs, time and money. I hate to say this, but it's the time is money thing. We have to think of such things.
Yeah.
I can't just blindly go ahead and just keep adding stuff. Yeah. So the restriction was, what can I do with 3 pieces of wood with 6 faces? And we try and overlap how much. The gray that's on this concrete tone here becomes the gray around the shadow and the gray on the handle of the chisel. This kind of thing. We try and stack up as much as we can. And perhaps there was a better solution for this that would have involving a skin tone and something else. One idea there too, the skin tone could have maybe been the same tone as the bamboo, this and that, this and that, this and that. So when I think about, could this be a perfect print? Should it have more colors? Yeah. But what can we do within the
parameters?
So that's the word, within the parameters of what we could afford to do on this. Yeah. And also what we were finding was that we had way too many red-brown group blocks. There's the light brown, the dark brown. She tried putting this on the wall. It's way overloaded with too many colors from the same color group.
Got it.
The top one misses that. We've got blue group, green group, brown group. It's okay. The bottom one, even in the one we've decided, is overloaded on red-brown. And the skin tone adds even more. The same thing
more,
with that. So. The other factor too, we had to make this not match, but we had to make this, remember there's a group, there's 2 more that are done, the previous 2.
Yeah.
Now they don't have to, the same color can't extend from one to the one, but they've got to look side by side sensible. So now I don't think I have one here to show. The previous Patreons, the 2017 Patreons. It was the printer image and the image of the tree being held up, which had some green. So we do have to keep that in mind too. And she had those 2 by her side when she was doing the color balance for this. Then what else here? It may be visible or may not be visible here, but she did a test print here. And when you're doing test prints, there's one difference from when we do normal prints, in that the paper tends to get overloaded with water and stuff. Normal printing is you might do this green one morning, go for lunch break, come back, and then do the blue down here, different part of the paper. You never saturate or attack too much of the paper at the same time all at once. So, and then it sleeps overnight, you come back. But when you're doing a test printing, it's all done within a few hours. You're banging, 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 banging. Yeah. So the paper tends to get distorted and twisted a bit. So you never look at a test print as being a registration test. I don't know if you can see it here.
No, I think you have to zoom in a little bit.
It doesn't really
more,
matter. But the point, some of the colors here overlap the boundary lines. The colors are not within the lines. It probably won't focus, but those desk colors are bouncing in.
Oh, yeah. You can see a little bit.
And it looks like, okay, wow, we should get the color block out here and trim it back. No, not at this point, because this is not an accurate test because the paper was distorted here. I learned this through bitter experience. You know, I do my color testing. Oops, look at that. Wow, get the block out, trim it back, do my real thing. Another block's too small because the paper had been distorted. You know,
right.
Whatever you learn at this point, do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
This is simply a color balance test. This is not a registration test or anything like that.
It gives you a basic idea of what it might look like.
Well, you know, we've done
the colors will look like, but
and we've made
not worry about the fine details.
And she started already. She's printed the key block of this already yesterday.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And this morning she will start. You know, I gave her the go ahead. Here, wait, let's do this. So she will make an edition that looks like this. But does that need trimming or not? We don't know at this point. Because that overlap could be because the paper was distorted, or it could be that block I just cut it a little bit too hard. So what she will do now today is I'm standing by. I'm going to do my normal work here today. And she's going to start printing, and whatever, if she starts with the green block, for example, I don't even know what it's going to be. She's going to do 1 or 2 or 3 sheets on this nicely primed good paper, and she's going to look and see if that's okay. And if it's off, Dave, the call will come, and I get up there and I do my trimming, and then we go ahead.
Yeah.
So you can only do registration trimming when the paper is really nicely, properly prepared and going forward. Okay. And it could be, I'm not bad at this, it could be that my blocks actually are totally okay, and that this overlap is a result of wet paper.
Yeah.
Or it could be another thing. Probably shouldn't admit this because I'm supposed to be a professional here doing this all in a professional way. Normally, when we do color separations, we've got our key block. We think about what we're going to do for colors. I'm going to need 5 blocks. We print 5 of the color separation sheets. And within as short a time period as is physically possible, certainly within an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, we do the color separations, get new wood and paste them down. Because every minute that you wait with a color separation sheet in your hand, cloud goes in front of the sun, it starts to rain, the humidity changes, that sheet expands or contracts, and now when you paste it down, it's a different size, and you are hosed. Because the whole color block is expanded at a different. So we never, and I mean never, in capital N, capital E, capital V, blah, 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 we never wait more than a few hours. Now, these people who are watching the stream, they know, wait a minute, Dave, it took you a week to do this. You did your color separations, kept them here, pasted one down, carved that. Next day on Twitch, pasted it down, carved that. So for the benefit of showing the people how this worked, I broke one of the prime rules. I kept these sheets here on my desk before I pasted them down.
Got it. So we'll see how it goes.
So, I know, what's the word? Playing with the dice, you know.
Yeah.
A couple of things were in my favor. One, the sheets I was using for the color separation was good, strong paper. It wasn't stuff that danced when you just looked at it carefully.
Yeah.
You know. Also, we're using plywood blocks. They don't expand, contract so much.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, I think I'm okay with this. You know. And then yesterday, she shows me this, and I think,
Are we okay with this?
Are we okay with this? Because what it shows is that whole color block, it looks like the whole color block is just a little 0.5 millimeters too big. I'm thinking back, when I took the color separation sheets, was it a nice, bright, sunny day? When I pasted them down, was it a rainy day? In which case they would have expanded, and now the color blocks are a little bit too expanded.
Dave's a maverick. He's a loose cannon.
Let's not go there, okay? And well, you're funny, because if it was a carver working for me upstairs who did this, I would be all over that guy. What the are you doing? You can't do that. Don't even think about trying such a thing. You're showing off because you're so cool, you know. Yeah. Don't do it. I want that thing made and pasted down. And next time we're going to get a stopwatch and do this, you know. Yeah. I would hammer the guy for this. And here I am. I've played with fire here. And when I saw this yesterday, the day before, let's not go there. Yeah. And here I am talking on the stream about it, but whatever, it emphasizes the point, you know. Yeah. Don't muck with those color separation sheets, you know. Make them and paste them down. Right away. Yeah. Right away. And I may be paying the price now for some bit of fooling around. So.
Would it be bad enough that you'd have to recarve the whole thing, or just trim a little bit off the borders?
On a print like this, we're very, very small. And we're talking about overall expansion like this.
Yeah.
Two ways. One, because we have an upper picture and a lower picture, she could print the upper picture first, move the registration marks, and print the lower picture. So really the variation we're talking about is within 6 centimeters here.
Yeah.
Because it could be upper and lower separately. And we're really talking about 1% or something like this,
Yeah.
1.5%, because that paper doesn't expand all that much. So the worst case here is that there's just going to be a faint hairline around the edges. But if this were a large Oban print,
Right.
you've got 3% or something at the distance, and it's this is a little bit off, that's a bit more 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 off. You can't move your paper in and out.
Yeah.
So you're doomed. If it were a worst case is yes, the block has to get thrown away.
Got it.
In my own history, I had to throw blocks away, not so much because I was careless with that, but a more basic problem is when I was pasting it down, if I used a bit too much water and I rub, you'd end up maybe twisting the paper a little bit, something like this.
Yeah.
And you can't tell, and you're totally host. You're doomed, you can't do it. So that was not common for me, but I have had that experience more than have the experience of being careless with the sheets.
Got it.
But yeah, the classical technique, and if you're working with classical traditional materials, which do dance and change with moisture, do your color separation work, all in, certainly within a few hours, within a situation where the temperature isn't changing,
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. It's going to be fun. She's doing the first batch. I think she's doing 100 or so. We're going to need, we have 500 Patreons, most of whom are at this level or above. So we're going to need at least 500, and over the next year, people will join and leave and join and leave. So we're going to probably end up printing 600 or 700 of these.
Yeah. I really like the colors
She's nice. She's done a nice job. She's a quiet girl, and it reflects her personality, and it fits mine too. I want quiet. As soon as I saw this heavy thing, it's too dark. This is supposed to be a happy thing. I'm sorry, it's just too dark.
Yeah, so that's why she made such variation.
So. Which is so she hasn't screwed up here. The point about test printing is you get 2 sheets of paper, you do a light one, a dark one. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So don't misunderstand. She hasn't screwed up here.
Yeah.
She followed instructions, makes some variations, so we can see and feel and taste it.
Yeah.
And this just doesn't have enough guts. It's just too. It looks like it's missing
Too
something.
pastel-ish.
So it just doesn't have enough body to it. And this one was just simply too dark and gloomy. So we just compromised, kept the same kind of green. The green too, you could argue, this has maybe too much black inside it. You could have gone for a bit more of maybe a lime green or whatever. Well, that was her taste. And we want an ukiyo-e feel to these. Yeah. And for an ukiyo-e feel, every color in the print, every single color has some touch of black inside it. It's sort of, this is one of the, oh my God, I've just said this in public. This is one of the ultimate top secrets of the printer's trade in the ukiyo-e world. We've talked about it before, I'm laughing. But we never, and I mean, again, never, capital N, capital E, how many times have I said this today? We never use raw pigment. Just one pigment mixed and printed.
Yeah, they're always...
The Hawk's Eye Prussian blue, yes it is, it's Prussian blue. But for any time you're doing color tones, you never use pigment as it is. And everything has to have some kind of touch of bokiju, the black calligraphy ink inside it. And that's the thing that keys the palette together, and it makes it look like a nice balanced ukiyo-e print. We talk about this in shopping. I've got all those 100 prints on the wall. There's like 50 prints on the wall. And they're a unified palette, but yet they're all different. And yet there's something that unifies them. And that's the unifying point. And when the stream's over, remind me, before we pack up, there's something I'll show you on that wall. Because on that wall, one of the printers broke this rule from one of those prints. Dun, dun. And you can see, and oh my God, that color does not fit the Mokuhankan palette. And you wouldn't really see it if I didn't mention it. It was okay, there's a print, it's a nice print. But once I mention that to you and show it to you,
it'll stand out.
It'll stand out, and you'll never, oh my God, it doesn't fit. We shouldn't be selling this, throw it away. Because Tsuzumi-san forgot, whatever, I'll show it to you. And these are the things they don't tell you, they just come over time and whatever. And, every one of these things has an infinitesimally small amount of black pigment mixed into that bowl.
Happy little knitter over here saying, oh, that's so interesting, learning about pasting the color blocks. It's something I never thought about, but it seems so obvious. And then they're said, oh, my brain's absorbing all this info like a sponge. good, and you can rewatch it if there's more you need to catch up.
I think perhaps every one of these things we've talked about today, we've already talked about on one of these streams. But what do? You answer the question. And I can't say, oh, I've already explained that, go away. It doesn't make any sense, of course. So these things over time, these streams are going to become a blend of this is not stories that have been told. This is, techniques that have been mentioned again and again. That's fair, whatever. That's the only way to get these things picked up and spread around. Yeah. So. If you jump forward 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, every single stream we're going to be doing, there'll be nothing original in it. It'll be telling and explaining a thing that we've already explained 100 times. I'm going to ramble about some story that I've told 100 times. It'll just become a complete brain dead rewind and just start from the beginning stream. We should do that after maybe 2 years. Just start playing again the first ones and just roll them. People won't know. Oh, here's Dave telling his story again. Nobody will notice. Should we try that?
That would be pretty funny.
Surely with TV that have reruns, right? You're watching some TV program, you realize, wait a minute, didn't I see this before? And it's a rerun for like 3 years ago or something. And Meteoric Power. Power. Before we run out of time, this is Suga-san's part. This is so funny. We've talked about this earlier in the stream. She's so, oh my God, they're no good, they're no good, they're no good, they're no good. I want her to be strict. I want her to be self-critical. But she's just, so what she's done, it's become a joke with us now. She's got her stack.
Oh no.
And she's put what she thinks are the good ones on top and the ones she's just marked an X at the bottom.
It's almost double.
It's almost double. And I've learned, I just take this, I just throw it away.
It means nothing.
It means nothing. So, I was saying this to her yesterday. She said, no, don't do that. It's okay. Anyway, whatever, do these prints. Couple of things. I haven't inspected these yet. This is simply her batch. I've seen them on her bench. I was part of the making process, but I haven't inspected the batch yet. But I can tell you right away. One thing that's going to be the same here with Kubota-san's print a few minutes ago, I just cracked the pack like this. I went across just to show number one thing, consistency. Yeah. This girl already, I call her a girl. It's okay. She's young. It's fine. Young woman, whatever you want to say. Look at this. We are... Am I on screen? I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, they're all lined up.
Consistency. You can just crack the batch at random and look at this. The depth of color tone.
Same.
It's just the same. I don't know, whatever, if I find some way this gradation problem. They're not. They're just fine. She's just... Oh, look. That one's... Look at this. Inconsistency. Suga-san, you're fired. I mean, these are just so freakingly consistent. It's beyond belief. They're not perfect, but my God, they are so good. And yesterday when she was bowing her head and, I failed again. When am I going to get good at this? And that's literally what she says. When am I going to be good at this? And we're just laughing at her. Suga-san. And I asked her yesterday, Suga-san, just sit for a minute. You know about the printmaking scene here in Tokyo. Tell me, literally, how many people do you think in this city, which means on this planet, couldn't do this? Can make a print to this level. Even if you think it's bad, let's take that as a given for the moment. Okay, this bad level, how many people in this city do you think can actually produce a print to this terrible level? Just terrible. And when I say in the city, I mean on this planet, of course, same thing. And she listens to me. I say, come on, answer. How many people do you think? You know all the workshops. You know what's going on. And what she does is, it's so telling. She took her hands and she started to do this. And she started to count people with the intention of not even getting to 10. It wasn't like 100 or 200. She got her hands and started doing this.
Like, I know.
And she's inside. She's naming people. She's thinking Kubota. So. And I just started laughing and laughing. I didn't let her finish an absolute number. I said, do you see what I'm getting at? You're probably expecting maybe to get to 10. She says, Juni not a night. I said, you're not going to get to 10. So there you are. You've just told me by your own admission, you are one of the top 10 woodblock printmakers on this planet.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And I was like, that's just a minute. You just showed me. This is what you're thinking, I think she's just half laughing, half crying, and half embarrassed because you're not supposed to admit something like this, And that's where we
so
stand.
Terrible. There are maybe 8 people better than me. Oh, that's so funny.
Is this her? No, no, she's not here today. She's on what she's doing now because of Golden Week. And her husband's off, so she'll be off here for about 10 days. Oh. She'll be out of here. So she really wanted to get this finished. And
makes sense. She wanted to go to see her husband.
And I don't know if I can try and get some of this. We talked about earlier on the stream about the silver hair. Her first samples had really, really dark hair. And she did it. But it turns out that because there's actually white spots in here, the hair has a super beautiful embossing effect. Ooh. This wasn't planned or whatever, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this under this.
Zoom in.
I'm going to try and scan it later on, get a good scan. I don't know, I can't see what's showing here, camera, so I'm just going to have to do it too. We've got
see a little bit
nice white hair. It's beautifully embossed. For example, the part of the sword here that didn't pick up color is
the sword
embossed.
Is off out of frame. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I'll scan this later and get some of this. But it is just so nice. The deep gradation at the top, it just comes from midnight black. But it's not black, it's red. And it comes from jet black under the midnight out into this red orange. And the same thing at the bottom. Look at the beautiful color tone here. It's sort of orange, it's sort of red, it's sort of black. There's a gradation coming up from the bottom. It is just to die for, this one. It's just to die for. And the difficult parts, we had to get light hair going over black and light hair going over white in the same block. And it's a different technique, totally different technique. The black is carved away to make the lightness. This is carved away to make the lightness. This was so difficult. This is one of the most difficult ones Jed has given us.
Wow.
And Chon-san came through and Suga-san came through. And it is just wonderful.
The embossing on the hair, that must have been hard to get that, the kento, what is that,
I can't
get it exactly lined up because it's so many thin lines.
Well, it's this so.
colors.
I mean, this white, remember, this white is not printed here. This white is because we're taken away from the background. We just printed red and printed again with a gradation. This is insanely different. When she saw this, she's just like, oh my God, what are you asking me to do?
Are you crazy?
Yeah, are you crazy? Literally, so you're crazy.
Ohayou
Guys,
gozaimasu.
have a look. Good. Suga-san's print, the show.
Yes.
Okay. So, let's see. Wisconsin 1980 has a question.
So I'll scan it later, try and get a good close-up. But for now, here it is. Now, something else too. This is the first batch. I think we gave her 60 sheets, and maybe there's, I don't know yet, there's 50 or so good ones. But that's not even enough. To Kickstarter, there were 59 people who ordered this one through Kickstarter.
Wow.
So they're not even covered yet. So these are going to go to Jed later this afternoon. He will sign and seal and send them to Kickstarters.
Yeah.
But not everybody will get one yet. She's now started her second batch.
Got it.
We talked about this earlier in the stream too, how much stamina she has. She can't do, 200 all at once.
Yeah.
So it's batch 1, batch 2, and then when that's finished, it'll go for general sale for people ordering. So I can't ship this, just yet. Just
not available to the public quite yet, but it's coming.
Well, her second batch has enough for general sales, and Jed will putting it on his website first, and then sending a few back to us for our shop.
After he's signed.
So it'll be easily well over a month before these are in our shop here.
Okay.
But shit, this is so good. This is so good.
Yeah.
I tell you, I shouldn't say things like this, but this is one of the ones that's going to go into the books, the history books.
Yeah.
This will be seen, whatever, 50 years from now or 100 years from now when they can't do this anymore. This will be seen as, oh my God, there it was. This was the last gasp of ukiyo-e, We'll see.
Question from Wisconsin 1988, but I'm not sure exactly if I understand it. He said, colors not matching. Isn't that important to decide colors before carving? For example, the top one, right wall, and the glass have the same blue tone, but the same...
We're talking with the pattern print.
Yeah, I think, jumping back, sorry. But a print, same wall has same brown with chips? I'm not sure
Well, this is a question. We overlaid stuff, I know, for example, left wall and right wall. This color left wall is under the right one, and then this picks up a darker tone because it's the shadow from the gray concrete here. And we have the same on the flying chips. There's a base wood tone, which is here, which is the same as the base bamboo tone. And then there's a second wood tone going over top of it, which went over this. And there's a third tone at the base of the chips, which was the gray. So we've got it's the 3 layers here. The gray one is not so visible because we had to dial the gray down, otherwise it was too strong. So I'm not sure what the question is. I know there's many overlays here.
So which colors aren't matching? I'm not sure what...
So I don't know the question. I'm sorry. Matching, you mean lined up or something? Or what's the question?
Yeah.
This, if you're talking about physical registration problems, it was the base wood tone. No, it was the over wood tone, the darker wood tone, which seems to be sticking down too far. And the blue. There's a blue here. It's coming up into this zone.
Okay.
And there's one here which is a carving mistake. This shadow on the handle is cutting into the fingers. And that's clearly a carving mistake which has to come off.
Got it. Ah, you mean the printed colors versus the original colors of the image we had on here. That was a total
Dummy. Those
decision.
are dummy.
Those are just example colors so you could see what areas might have.
Yes, John wanted he wanted to show zones, that's all. That wasn't any intention for being the colors in the finished print at all. Good morning, hello.
Yeah, so these weren't the planned final colors. They were just showing what zones could have, or match what zones. Basically.
John is an experienced printer. He could have designed colors from the beginning, but he thought it was best just to leave it to us. He trusts us completely. What we wanted from him was a concept. He did that, and if he had designed colors for us, it would have had to go back and forth, test printing, adjustment, test printing. He's 8,000 miles away, so he just left it to us, and we're quite happy for that.
Yeah. So I hope that helps answer the question. Thanks. Mernrem, it's a palindrome, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Mernrem is asking, what kind of pigments do you use in printing? The red and black are so rich on this one. I'd love a stream about colors someday, so that could maybe be a topic for another.
Quickies answer. The black we use is calligraphy ink, normal bokuju calligraphy ink, and the colors we use are standard Japanese powder pigments of the transparent type. They're called suihi in Japanese. If you're in a Japanese pigment shop, you're looking for kona enogu, powder, color, and suihi, which is the transparent watery color types. These are the things that back over in the industrial world, these are the ones they use to make things like tube watercolor pigments. In those tubes that you buy from whatever, Hobin or whatever, there's color powder in there, and there's stuff like, I have no idea, gelatin and whatever, all kinds of other different stuff that make up the actual formulation of the creamy stuff that comes out of the tube. We just use the powder by itself.
And water.
Some of them, they need a surfactant. When you put water in a bowl, they don't dissolve because the pigments are too small and hard. So we use alcohol, a drop of alcohol, as a surfactant, which sort of coats each thing, and then the water can get in there.
Okay.
And that's all we use. And at printing time, we put some rice paste on as something which sort of, it's not really a binder, that's the wrong word, but it smooths it out and allows it to get impressed into the paper. There's sections on our website. I've got that quote encyclopedia on my website, which introduces these pigments and talks some basic stuff about it. I don't know if there's a link to it here, but whatever.
Woodblock.com you're talking about.
Woodblock.com, the front page, look for the encyclopedia. In the middle of there, look for materials.
Okay.
There's some small talk about it. I think I had better get going, because my job's today, the boys are handling the print parties today, but I have to get these proofed and pick up the little dots off here and send these through to Jed. I've also got a bunch of stuff to do with you. We've got to find a tatami supplier. Also, there was when I turned the computer on out there this morning to look for a tatami shop, the subscription software booted up, downloaded the payments, and one crashed. And I had a quick look, and it seems like a young lady paid overnight, and she'd already paid a week before. So whatever, you'll see.
Okay, we'll see what that's about. Okay.
And there was something else I was supposed to ask you about. I made notes. I don't remember.
Okay. We'll look through them soon.
We have to get to work here. So here you are, people. There it is. It's come to life. The Meteoric Power. Jed's not on the stream, I guess.
No, I haven't seen him yet.
And this is, if it's not our best one ever, it's up there. I'm very, very proud of this. Last night before they went home, we got a picture. Kawai-san took some shots of me, Sugi-san, and John-san, the three of them.
Nice.
We can't do the four. Jed's not here, but we got the three of us. And they look like dorks. John-san just sits there. What's this? And Sugi-san sits there. I'm so unhappy. I'm looking, look at what we made. Look at what we made. Those two guys are just it's the best and worst situation. It's the best situation. We've got such wonderful, confident people to do this. And I'm happy that they're both so self-critical. But my God, people, just enjoy yourself. Look at what I made. Stand up and dance for 1 minute before settling back to your critical. Whatever. I can't help it. We'll post this picture and people are thinking, who is this? These two unhappy zombies sitting next to Dave, who is grinning like this biggest geek in town. Whatever. It is what it is.
Okay. I guess we'll
This is
wrap up. But
Yep, sign us off,
Okay.
please, Cameron. I got to get up there to get to
okay,
work.
we will see you all later.
This is
Hot mic.
it's whatever hot mic. This is just so good. I can't say it enough times.
It's just beautiful, beautiful print.